The sighting report, and the rest is history.
Carter's UFO report gives a vivid account of what he saw that night.
I never have tried to identify what I saw. It was a light in the western sky. It was very unique. I never seen it before. So there were about 20 of us who saw it.
And he's never disavowed the content of his report, which tells me that Jimmy Carter, just as honest as a man as you'll ever find in or out of government, has left that bit of legacy to be savored by future UFO researchers who can point to it as a milestone in the fact that the government does know more than it has been telling about the subject. And this was enough inspiration for Jimmy to try to funnel out some of that knowledge.
While running for the presidency, Carter made campaign promises that he would release all he could about UFOs once he took office.
And how did they try to hold Jimmy Carter to his promise? They wrote letters to him as soon as he got in office saying, "Jimmy, you're now where you can fulfill your promise. Please do so."
As many as 9,000 UFO-related letters from citizens reached the White House during Carter's term. But some researchers suggest other reasons why Carter may not have been able to deliver on his campaign promise.
The CIA comes in and briefs the president on the most important intelligence stuff. And the person who briefed Jimmy Carter on the intelligence matters was George Bush Sr., the CIA director. Jimmy Carter asked for the UFO files. The story was that George Bush said, "You don't have a need to know. This works on a need to know, and curiosity on the part of the president isn't sufficient need to know."
Regardless, President Carter did release UFO-related documents during his administration. The UFO community considers it the golden years.
Half of all the UFO documents, there's thousands of UFO documents that have been released under the Freedom of Information Act request over the last 30 or 40 years. Over half of them were released under 4 years of Jimmy Carter.
These newly declassified documents were sourced from numerous agencies. They contain information about many UFO sightings and the military responses. Access to the declassified material continues to bolster UFO research.
We must act today in order to preserve tomorrow. And let there be no misunderstanding. We are going to begin to act.
There are reports that Ronald Reagan had 2 UFO experiences prior to serving as president. The story of his first sighting reached the public through the memoirs of actress Lucille Ball. She recalled that Reagan and wife Nancy arrived late to a Hollywood party.
And she stated that when Mr. Reagan and Nancy arrived at the party, they were all excited. They told everybody about this sighting, that this thing they had seen it coming down the coast. They had watched this whole thing.
Ronald Reagan was very interested in the topic of UFOs, privately, very much so. And indeed, has been said to have seen one while flying on an aircraft as governor of California.
Could these alleged sightings have fueled Reagan's repeated references to UFOs and alien life during his presidency? February 11th, 1988. In a speech called Remarks at the Annual Conservative Political Action Conference Dinner, Reagan said,
"Our unshakable, root-deep, all-encompassing skepticism about the capital city's answer to the UFO, that bizarre, ever-tottering but ever-flickering saucer in the sky called the prevailing Washington wisdom."
A presidential speech is a very complex thing. It has many drafts. It has people who proof every word as to whether every word is accurate in their figures, facts. It's a very long and involved process. There's up to 25 agencies who have to sign off, State Department. Everybody gets to put their little 2 cents in, what they want taken out. So I started checking the speeches, and I went through every Ronald Reagan speech that had this alien invasion.
Reagan asked the speechwriters to address the alien UFO subject.
He believed that if we were invaded by people from another planet, that the world would come together, the world would unite. He called it his fantasy.
One of the more compelling exchanges was between speechwriter Rhett Dawson, who sought to keep the fantasy out of Reagan's speeches and away from the commander-in-chief. The discussion preceded President Reagan's address to the 1987 UN General Assembly.
There's a memo that comes from the speechwriter